Hi, I'm Ife.
I'm Justin.
Hi, I'm Idris.
Hi, I'm Josh.
When we started this journey, it wasn't just about building yet another fintech, but about addressing a deeply personal issue.
Global payments today are riddled with complexity.
Too many steps, too many frustrations.
Hidden fees that feel like penalties, options that are limited if they even exist at all.
At JuicyWay, we are simplifying global payments for everyone.
Today, our customers have the ability to use both fiat and stablecoin flows.
Whether you're in Nigeria, Canada, the US, or managing crypto, we are making it easier to manage payments with just a few taps.
What we do with our products is we partner with banks in every country that we operate in, along with wallet providers for cryptocurrency. So we can provide international payments with stablecoin or with whatever currency that you choose.
I love solving hard problems, and every day at JuicyWay feels like I'm solving a hard problem for our customers, so they don't need to worry about it.
For me, JuicyWay is more than a platform. It's about freedom. Freedom to dream bigger, to build without limits, and to connect across borders.
JuicyWay isn't just an app. It's the result of years of understanding the pain points people face when it comes to money. It's about creating a solution that empowers businesses and individuals to move money the way they want, quickly and without barriers.
And we're trusted with all of our clients' and customers' information and not to lose it, as well as making payments on their behalf.
When we set out to build JuicyWay, the mission was clear. Enable all Africans to engage in the global marketplace on equal footing.
And thankfully, we're seeing this vision come to life. Over $1.3 billion in payments processed for our customers, a growing user base of over 4,000 built entirely organically, $3 million raised in pre-seed funding from the most principled investors to accelerate our impact.
At JuicyWay, we are simplifying global payments.
But really, it's about you. It's about giving you the freedom.
We're creating a new way to move money, a way that reflects the limitless potential of a truly borderless world. And we hope that you can join us on this journey.
My name is Angela and I use JuicyWay. I use JuicyWay to hold USD and also to send money to loved ones and friends, and I spend in Naira as well. The first time I sent money cross-border with JuicyWay, I sent money to Canada for my friends. It was a graduation and I couldn't be present, and I didn't just want to say congratulations and send her well wishes. So I got her flowers. And the second time I sent money was for a cake for my godson in Canada as well. Prior to using JuicyWay, I might have needed to have had to start looking for somebody I could send Naira and then beg them to try and use it. But the fact that I could just take my Naira and convert it instantly, it was good. And then or maybe I'll look for someone that's traveling to Canada and then I'll go to one BDC and then give them cash and then collect it. I'm glad I don't have that stress point anymore, essentially. JuicyWay makes it easy.
Hi, my name is KG and I use JuicyWay to sponsor my enjoyment. I chose JuicyWay because traditional banks have shown me shaggy. It's very easy for me to track and keep my money in JuicyWay because, especially the tracking part, every time you make a transaction on JuicyWay, you have to say why. And sometimes I don't like it because I don't want to be accountable to how I spend my money. I mean, I like to have a good time on a daily basis. And it's always nice when you have $2, but that $2 $3K, bro. So what you can do with that $3K. Just easy transactions, different currencies all in one place. I think that's exciting as well. And just, I love JuicyWay. Shout out JuicyWay.
Hi, I'm Samuel. I use JuicyWay to receive international payments on projects I work on. I send USDT to Naira with JuicyWay because that's just what has worked for me. It's very easy for me to get my USDT wallet address, send it to whoever I'm receiving payment from, receive my payment and get it to my bank account as fast as possible. It's really easy for me to just add my bank account, my Naira account, and easily get my USDT and convert that to Naira with JuicyWay. I think what surprised me the most was the fact that I was able to convert USDT to Naira without interacting with anyone. It's just a straightforward process with as little as 2 steps, and I had my Naira in my account as fast as possible. It was good because it was really fast, and in little to no time, I was already spending my money.
Hi guys, my name is Daniel. I use JuicyWay for my daily banking activities. In 2024 December, I got a gig that I needed a USD account to receive payments, and I was trying to look for a wallet that was very convenient, where I did not necessarily have to stress about whether my money was safe or whether I could quickly make changes with my money or the rates they used to convert my money to Naira for me. JuicyWay came through for me very, very fast, very easy. I had no problems at all. You need an app that can do everything, and JuicyWay is that app. You can do a whole lot of activities with JuicyWay on your phone, your laptop, your iPad, your iWatch, even your mommy's house. I'm not joking. I trust JuicyWay with my life.
Hello, everyone. Um, super excited to be here today. Um, if you are joining us online from all several platforms that we are streaming this webinar on, I want to say thank you and welcome. So we currently do have Instagram or YouTube, Twitter as well. So welcome to our monthly GCWA monthly webinar. So the question has been all around the place, like why is it necessary to actually have this financial webinar, right? And before we dive into it, I think it's important to really highlight why it's important to have conversations like that, right? We have, upcoming new business owners, founders, and even investors, right? And even policymakers or policy enthusiasts, right? That we have as customers, colleagues, stakeholders that have questions day to day, and usually have confusions around, reforms, policies in the country, even worldwide sometimes. And I feel like it's necessary to have this kind of conversation to shape our industry to even, increase the kind of collaboration that we have and help with partnerships. So that's why we, started this webinar. And so far, so good. Even before the webinar, we've received several questions and we've been able to answer them. And I think that we are right in the right direction. So today is our first edition, and we are super excited to actually have this running. So I'm going to just go right into it because I understand that we only have 15 minutes for this webinar. We try to keep it short, cute, and really straight to the point. The topic we'll be having today is tax reform, how it influenced capital allocation and FX market volatility. Primarily, if you have been online for the past few weeks, there's a lot of buzz that has been on social media, even in chat rooms, WhatsApp group, Twitter, and LinkedIn especially, around how these new reforms that is going to be implemented next year is going to affect the layman in Nigeria. Questions are being asked. People are curious, and I think that this is the right avenue to actually answer some of those pertinent questions that people have. Most especially, how does it affect me as a business owner? Me that, for instance, me that do a lot of, FX transaction, or me that I'm an investor, I invest in this company. How will that affect my investments in those companies? Basically what we are going to have here today. And guess what? We brought to the table the best speaker to actually handle this topic. These are people that have several decades of experience in economics, finance, investing, fintech, and financial generally. So I'm super excited. I'm going to be announcing their names soon. And I'm so excited for this. So if you are here with me, please do grab your pen and paper because it's going to be an interesting session, right? I'm going to just go right into it. First of all, before we proceed, let's get warm, right? Let's do a little bit of icebreaker. I'm going to start with just asking questions. I'll ask my colleague first of all. I think we have Florence, are you on the call? I want to start with you. I want to ask you before we, introduce the speaker, just to get everyone warmed up and ready to assimilate the bullet points that the guest speakers are going to be dropping today. I want to ask you, what is the best financial decision you've made this year? I'm curious to know what people have been doing and want to learn from you. Tell me. I have mine. I'm going to tell you mine after yours.
Hi, fine. Okay, so to answer that question, it's very vague, but I think there is one thing I did that I'm really proud of, which it was to get myself a phone. I got myself a phone. I spent so much on my phone, and I was happy that came from my pocket. So
Is your phone considered an asset or liability? By that I mean, does your phone generate money for you or does it take money from you?
it generates money for me because I use it for work, like all the time.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
That's
that was a very
fantastic.
good investment on my end.
Nice. Okay, so mine will be I actually got stock, and surprisingly, I have a lot of investment. I usually do mutual funds, and I would just lock up my funds in Piggyverse, Cowrywise. But for the first time, I actually bought shares, like Nigerian shares. And surprisingly, the yields from those shares outweigh my mutual funds that I've been doing for the past several years. And I mean, over the couple of years that I've been investing, I've always seen stock exchange as a risky and old man investment. Like I just feel like it's just for old people. You just some people in their 40s, 60s, 70s. I mean, but I finally realized that it's better to actually diversify your investments, and you're able to actually generate more when and reduce the risk. So super excited I've made that decision. I've been able to actually get more from that. All right, so we're going to go into the webinar. Thank you so much, Florence. Florence, do you want to also welcome the guests before we proceed? It would be nice to hear from you, Florence.
Of course, I'm here. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And thank you to our guests for taking our time to want to do this with us, right? So first up, we'll welcome Aboyeji. He is a co-founder of Future Africa. Aboyeji, are you here with us?
Oh, yes, he is. Um,
Great.
for those wondering, right, who he is, if we start to introduce him and some of the amazing things he has done, especially in the financial sector in Africa, I'm probably going to spend 20 minutes introducing him. But I'm going to give you a summary, right, so that you know. One thing I'll start with by saying is that the biggest fintechs in Africa today was founded by him. These are like I'm just to mention one, Flutterwave, right? Currently, he is also championing Future Africa, primarily where they provide capital and coaching for visionaries and community leaders and tech leaders, turning Africa in a whole into an amazing business opportunity, right? He also serves as a co-founder of Learning to Earn as well. He's also an executive chairman of TN Macaulay, currently the board member of MedPlus Pharmacy. I used to joke about MedPlus Pharmacy a lot, that I don't think if you go through Lekki, you can't pass through a street without seeing MedPlus. So that is some of the things that he has been up to as well. As I said, if I continue today, we're going to spend 20 minutes just introducing him. Thank you for accepting to be our guest today. We are super excited to have you on the call today. We're going to give you some time to really speak around the topic that we have today, which is how tax really affects us, especially around capital allocation and the FS market. Right. Thank you so much. The floor is yours. We can see you, but I think you need to unmute so we can hear you. No, we can't hear you yet. We can see you. So I think the mic. All right. So while we wait for Inye, would be nice to confirm if Idris is on the call and if we can actually hear Idris. We'll just commence.
Hello.
Idris.
Can you hear me now?
Fantastic. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm
Sorry
doing
about
very
the delay
well.
with joining.
Oh,
I was trying to join, but I was trying to
Okay.
get to a location where I could actually
So,
join from.
we are very curious today, I and
Mm-hmm.
several hundreds of Nigerians, because we're going to post this
Mm-hmm.
on our YouTube so people can watch afterwards. We are very curious today how the tax reform affects the basic Nigerian SME owners, the business owners, the investors. What are these implications, right?
Yeah.
What are the impacts it will have on us, and advice for investors? So we're giving you time to really speak around this topic, and we'd like to learn from the wisdom.
Okay. I'd say, to be honest, I was hoping it would be more of a Q&A type type of thing, to be honest, because I can't say I know as much about the tax code or anything as your typical accountant. So I guess I'll start off with our typical preface, which is, look, don't take anything I say as official advice. Consult with your accountant. And speaking of consulting with your accountant, now is a very good time for you to actually make sure that you consult with an accountant, because there's a lot of very interesting benefits that are embedded in the new tax reform act, and there are a lot of people who are going to miss out on it simply because they don't really understand what is going on or how they can further optimize. But I would say, from a framework perspective, based on what I've seen, there are a number of very key changes that have really taken root with this. Number one is that right now, if you're a small business that makes under $100,000 a year, which is a lot of money, um, this is the best time for you. You are not liable to pay taxes on your first 150, so long as you make 150 million naira of turnover. You're not paying taxes in a lot of areas, and you're basically being subsidized by the government. When it comes to personal income tax as well, if you're earning below, I think it's about 1 million naira or so a year, you're also not paying taxes, and so if you actually organize yourself very, very well, there's so much that you're able to do, tax free in this environment. And I know a lot of people are always looking for what the government does wrong, but what you actually see is that the government is actually doing a lot of things right now, because they're making it easy and making it possible for a lot of small businesses to enjoy incredible benefits without much investment on their part. And the other thing I would say is that, another very key thing in this framework is what is happening with respect to capital gains. For a very long time in Nigeria, the reality of the situation has always been that Nigeria usually had capital gains tax thing where whatever you did, you basically pay 10% capital on capital gains for the most part. And then if you had foreign assets, you would pay almost nothing on capital gains. Now, on local capital gains, that has gone up to 30%. And I think there is now one on foreign capital gains, I think about 10%. Again, please check the law. I wasn't told I was going to be talking about the specifics of tax reform bill. So, and my name is not Uncle Taiwo, so I'm not going to opine on that. Consult your accountant. But one of the really important things is, like, for many of us that own foreign stock or have invested in foreign stock, we now actually have real responsibility in terms of that earning, which before was largely tax free. So it's helpful to also think about what you're doing there. Thirdly, and most importantly, it's how Nigeria determines people to be tax residents. I mean, Nigeria had a very messy regime before, where it wasn't very clear who was tax resident, who was not tax resident. And so many people were always afraid of working from Nigeria because even if you spend, there was something called the day zero rule, right? Where even if you spend 1 day in Nigeria doing certain things, you could be considered tax resident. And then, with the current regime, it's very clear now that if you spend more than 180 days in Nigeria, you are tax resident in Nigeria, and you are subject to worldwide income. So that means that now many of us have to actually start thinking carefully about how we spend our time. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't take vacation, you should actually start considering planning your vacation, because it may allow you to, be non-tax resident in Nigeria. If you're the kind of person who travels a lot, you might want to also count your travel and make sure you're doing enough travel so that you can make sure that if you have global income, you're not tax resident in Nigeria. But again, you also make it very clear that any income you earn in Nigeria is taxable. So these are the things that I think are worth thinking about in terms of anybody who's doing anything in Nigeria. Ifeanyi, are you there? Because me, I'm looking at this to be a Q&A because I'm not prepared to debate.
100%. No, it's going to be easy. It's a
You
conversation
didn't tell
we're
me.
having. So,
Okay, good.
so
You didn't tell me I was going to do a lecture.
No, it's fine. It's an interactive session. I wanted you to just do an overview, talk just randomly an overview of it. Then we can now go into the question time.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, as an investor, you as an investor, taking yourself as an example, coming next year, what will you be looking at if you are looking at the books of a company you want to invest in around tax, and if they're they're aware of the new regulation? What will be your advice to them, and what will you be looking at before you can invest in a company?
Well, I would actually first of all be looking at their structure. So for me, I mean, I generally invest in Delaware corporations, right? So the way I think about it is, at least so far, investing in Delaware corporations, the headquarters in Delaware, the subsidiaries in Nigeria. The benefit with that tax structure, at least until it changes in the US, is that whatever tax I pay in Nigeria I can true it up to the Delaware entity and be recompensed for it on my tax returns in the US, which is super helpful. But now
That's it.
I'm not paying tax in Nigeria, I might actually be encouraged to adopt a different kind of structure. And the kind of structure I'll be thinking about now is leveraging the free zones as a HQ, as a service HQ, and as a sandwich between the US company and the local entity. And then maybe even building different local entities for different products. You understand? So that I can keep my turnover under 100.
That's really smart. I'm sure people are noting that down. You won't get this anywhere else. You won't get these tips anywhere else. Trust me.
Just looking for ways to be more capital efficient. You see what I mean?
Yes. So that leads me to one of the areas I've been very curious on, right? How do you think why do you think SME should retain capital allocation, right? In this climate, right? I mean, tax conversation not just in Nigeria. I mean, this buzz has been around the world. Taxes everywhere you go to right now. There's been a buzz around tax, and people are beginning to rethink capital allocation. Where should they put more funds in? Where should they reduce more funds and increase? I mean, we'd like to hear from you, from experience, right? How should SMEs, rethink capital allocation?
So, I mean, the way I look at it, I think there are multiple ways to retain capital allocation. The previous ways, I mean, because of these tax laws, I would be very careful about doing the standard stuff like just buy dollar and hold it, because it's a very thin line between if anything happens to dollar and dollar goes up, you're in trouble, and if dollar comes down too, you're in trouble. You see what I mean? Because it's going to be very tricky. So what I usually advise people to do is to buy assets. Buy assets, that are yielding. Buy yielding assets. So, for example, you get a tax break for paying rent now. You see what I mean? So you can create a company that owns your building, and then you pay rent from another company, and then you're able to, manage your exposure and reduce your taxes over time. I don't know if I'm making sense to somebody.
Absolutely.
So you really want to think about it as, you buy a company car, the expense is deductible. Sure, you get what I'm saying? And from what I understand, the assets you can amass up to $250 million in naira in assets, tax free. Now, the thing with assets is that once you buy them, so long as you're not selling them, you don't have to pay any taxes on it, right? You see what I mean? So
That's
you
smart.
know, so you can just continue to manage your yield on those assets. You understand, as you use them, and then that use of those assets, if you properly structure, is a tax benefit because it's tax exempt. So I think people are going to have to get a lot more structured. A lot of this stuff is really about structure. It's not really about I have cash or this and that. It's really about structure. How are you and your accountants and your lawyers working together to make sure that everything that you're doing is properly structured to ensure that you are optimizing for cash flow, you are spending that cash flow, because if you have cash flow, you can spend it. You understand? You don't need to take it out as profit anymore. Your business can pay for your vacation. You can call it a board meeting. Your business can pay your child's school fees as a benefit. I think it's tax exempt. Your business can save. Your business can loan, hold the appropriate licenses. Like, there are many ways you can structure things to make it worthwhile for you and for your business. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking in that direction now.
Now, I want to ask the big question of the day, right? This is the question everyone has been, wanting to know, especially, businesses that have saved in USD. They are curious. We understand you are not a financial expert, yeah, but people still want to know, do you think that the new tax reforms is going to affect the FX volatility next year? Do you think
Yes,
there's
I
an
think
implication?
so.
Do you think the correlation between both of them?
I think it will. So the reason why I think it will is because there's still a lot of unanswered questions about capital gains, right? Many of us that are investors are still asking, okay, when are you going to start calculating the gain? Will you start from, I don't know, like if you've been investing in this market, like you've probably gone 5 times just because of Naira dollar volatility. You understand what I'm saying? So when are you going to start applying capital gains? There has to be clarity for the market about when they want to start applying capital gains. There are also other smaller questions around, maybe I have a capital gain. Remember, if you recycle it, you're not supposed to be taxed. You understand? So, but there isn't a lot of clarity about how that would work. You understand what I'm saying? Whether you have those exemptions and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people, just so that a lot of people will wait for as long as possible. And then there would be, if some of these questions are not answered, there could be a massive sell-off towards the end of the year. So, and that would trigger some exchange consequences, right? So I would be careful. Let me just put it that way. I think a lot of people are just waiting to see what their dividends look like as soon as most of the corporate annual, things happen. And then right after they collect their
usually
dividend,
towards the end of the year. Yeah.
And once they do that, they'll sell off. Once they get their yield, they'll sell off. People are also trying to manage it because they don't want to be the first to sell off and then end up being the it's a very everybody's watching each other like a tiger. So let's see what happens.
Going first?
Who's gonna go first?
Yeah.
So, but there's no question that I think, people are very over optimistic about Naira. I am too. I'm one of the biggest believers in Naira. I predicted a lot of this stuff will come down, but at the same time, I would say, look, the thing might go up a little bit, but it will come down again once the hot money has left. So let's see what happens.
So I stumbled on some of your posts. I can't remember if it's LinkedIn or Twitter when you were very optimistic about the Naira. And a lot of people actually challenged you. They were like, no, why do you think that the Naira? And you stood your ground. And you were like, you think that the Naira is going to recover. And as you can see, it's recovering gradually. Slower than you predicted, but at least it is recovering. And the question is, what prompted those optimism? You sounded really sure, and reality has confirmed that. So we would like to know what prompted those optimism.
No, it's just data. It's not. It's not. Honestly, it's not like a big. It's just data. Nigeria is a remarkably predictable country. It's like because you know how people think, you know what people are going to do, you know people's behavior. You know what I
True.
mean. So
Yeah.
if you look at the rules, you think Nigeria is a very unpredictable place. But if you look at people's behavior, you know that Nigeria is not a predictable. So once I saw that the
I
naira
can
had
I,
gone
I
to
can I
those
can predict the next president. That's how predictable Nigeria
exactly, Nigeria is very predictable. So
is. You can.
that you can. It's a
Unlike so
very
many countries
predictable
that you
place.
can.
Yeah. But look, if you even if you say you can predict the next president, if you read the newspapers and you look at the raw data without understanding the people, you understand what I'm saying. You would think there's a lot of
True.
uncertainty.
Yeah. True. I get it. I
So
get it.
somebody
So if you
somebody
just
always
if
jokes
you
that
true.
if they explain
You need to
Nigeria to you
balance
and
the
you
data
understand,
and the people.
yeah, you have to.
I saw that.
Yeah, you have to balance it. So I always say, look, at the end of the day, once you saw how you know the kind of behavior that people were exhibiting when Naira was 1.8, you just knew that the Naira was going to bounce back. You knew the Naira was going
Absolutely.
to bounce back. Once you saw the policy reforms, because those things were sucking away a lot of it. Once you saw the interest rates go up, you know, and to be fair, I also, I asked this question actually to um, Finance Minister Wale Edun in 2023, right?
Okay.
2023, when they just came in September, and he explained the dynamics in a way that made me understand that yes, they actually have a handle on it, and this is what they're going to do. So just me.
Well, thank you for that insight. So for you that has been an investor, I don't know the exact number, but I know is in the hundreds really. We've not really seen a lot of innovation around tax payments in Nigeria, like the tax sector, when it comes to technology. It's still a bit, very manual, unlike the payment side of things where we see a lot of people play around, right? We don't see people, and it's still part of payments in a way, but the tax area, right? We still have a lot of manual processes in tax. And I
Yeah.
wanted to confirm from you, what do you think the bottleneck has been? And why don't we see a lot of, innovation and technology in that aspect?
Well, it really has been the tax authorities themselves. I mean, I used to work with a few payroll companies, and I know how hard they worked to be able to integrate into FIRS at the time and
Really hard.
LIRS at the time, and it was difficult. But with the new leadership in FIRS and LIRS and all the other, with the new regime, you're definitely seeing a lot of innovation that will reduce things and will make it easier for startups. I mean, now you're seeing startups that are focused on tax coming to the market, and it boils down to something I always tell founders. I always say, look, a lot of people think regulation is the enemy, but regulation, policy creates markets all over the world. Policy creates markets. So you just need to be able to tap into the right policy to be able to, understand the market and really get in there in a significant way.
Okay, yes, I agree. And one of the questions that was asked by us during this period was that do we think that
Yeah, yeah.
we are being taxed unfairly?
Hmm.
I
That's a
would like to
very
hear your thoughts.
interesting question. That's a very interesting question. I would say that it depends on your income bracket. You see what I mean? So what do I mean? Sorry, I'm trying to okay, I'm good again. So I think it depends on your income bracket. My opinion is that prior to this tax bill, if you were lower income, you were definitely being taxed unfairly, far more unfairly than higher income people. For example, like I'm actually very happy with this new tax, even though I'm paying more taxes than I was paying before. So before I was obviously in the highest tax brackets, and I was paying 18%, right? I was
Oh
paying
wow.
18%. Yes, yes. And by the time you considered everything, I was paying 18% income tax. Meanwhile, my driver was paying 25%. Do you understand what I'm
That's
saying?
that that's
That's not fair.
that,
That's just not fair.
that's it should be the opposite, to be
It
fair.
should be the opposite, to be fair, right? So
Yeah.
actually, for a very long time, I would argue that for a very long time, if you're poor in this country, you're paying more taxes than people that were rich. Also, don't forget, by the way, if I'm that most rich people make money on capital gains, right? Because they own their businesses, so they can afford to first line debit their companies for most of their running costs. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, my company can pay my child's school fees, my company can pay my house rent, my company can pay or buy my house. You see what I mean? So most of the time, most rich people were earning dividends, which were taxed at 10%. Do you understand? Or even worse, they had the cash flows to invest in foreign assets, which was taxed at 0%. So it was a very, very unfair tax system for poor people. Very, very unfair. And to be honest, with the regime today, I mean, look, it's still better than what you get in a lot of countries. You see what I mean? It's still better than the UK. It's still better than the US. It's still better than Canada. Well, not all of the US, because US, if you're rich, you also pay less tax. But Canada, at least, and the UK, right? It's actually fair. It's fair. It's a fairer tax system, and I believe, as somebody who believes in fairness, that rich people should pay more. That's just what it is, right? Rich people should pay more in taxes. Poor people should not pay as much in taxes. And I think I'm not saying this because I'm a fan of anything in the administration, but I think this tax bill actually does that. Like, it allows everybody to pay their fair share.
Interesting. I also believe that that, of course, this is my personal opinion, that I think that people should be taxed based on how much they earn. It just makes more sense that way. And we are going to be adding Mojid to the call. Mojid will be replacing Idris because I'm unable to join. So before I go and bring Mojid up, I have like two more questions. These are just more fun questions, really. These are not
Yes,
more
that's fine.
very serious questions. So if you
Thank
are
you. My exam is over. I said thank you for my exam is over.
It was an interaction, really, and we learned so much from you. There's something I actually took notes from this conversation, and I hope every other person actually took it. When you said it, it was like a rema, because I mean, such an eye opener, and it was around allocations. How you allocate your capital to pay the appropriate tax. If you know, you know. All right. If you know, you know. If you become the CBN governor today, or let's say finance minister, what would you do differently? So, as I said, this is a fun question. So this is more.
Okay.
You can say you run away. That might be your answer.
This is your phone question. I don't have even worried now. What the serious questions are now?
You might answer it so well that the president might call you to resume office tomorrow.
No. Let me not answer it at all. I'm just kidding. So honestly, if I was finance minister those are two different jobs. One manages monetary policy and one manages fiscal policy. For me, I would say,
policy.
yeah. I mean, look, across both, the biggest thing that I think that I would be willing to do, right, is to make it easier for serious global interests to invest in Nigeria. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean it as a broad policy objective. You see what I mean? I mean it as a particular, not as a broad policy objective, but like as a particular thing. And let me explain what I mean. When I see countries around the world try and woo business, right? There is a certain level of intentionality with the kind of businesses they go and target and bring into the country. right? And unfortunately, I think that in Nigeria, maybe because of our heritage, we're very proud people, and we used to be rich. I don't think we're rich anymore, but we used to be very rich. We don't have that hunger of going to look for a company that is doing something that we know we can help them grow, and actually dragging that company in with incentives. So, I would actually work very closely with the Minister of Trade and the head of NEPSA to bring billion-dollar projects into the country. Like, for all the headache that we gave Dangote for his $20 billion investment, it's actually kind of sad that that's the biggest investment project in the country, because that 20 billion is actually quite small compared to what
Relatively.
the world, relatively, compared to what people can do for you. You know what I mean? But you need to, countries are fighting tooth and nail for investments globally, right? You too, you need to enter and hustle. And I know that if you have a finance minister that understands that, right, you will come up with very creative ways of ensuring that Nigeria and Nigerians actually can compete on the global stage. But I think for maybe the better part of the last 40 years, we've had a very insular economy, right? Where all we just do is we sell oil, right? And then we use oil to cushion all the shocks of the global economy. But I would, if I was finance minister or CBN governor, my obsession would be, how do we make Nigeria more globally competitive? And the answer is
I have
different
a
for
question
different
for you.
things.
before I move on.
Yes. Tell me.
I have a quick question. I want to come in here quickly. Don't you think that the increasing tax will reduce competitiveness, maybe eventually increase revenue for the government, but reduce competitiveness locally? Because if I know that the more I earn, the more I'm being taxed, don't you think that I would want to just be at par? I'm not like too curious to earn more because I know you're going to tax me more. Don't you think there is a opposite reaction to being competitive and also generating revenue?
No, not all the time.
Because people
Right? There's
would
a
want to
balance.
work lesser.
No, not really now. Because think about it, right? If you already earn 1 million naira a month, do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And you're being taxed. I mean, if you earn 1 million naira a month, you will probably be taxed at one of the highest bands. You see what I mean? Maybe I think 15% or so, or so. I mean, you're going to want to earn more to cover your tax burden, so you can maintain your lifestyle.
The more I earn,
You
the more
understand what
you
I'm saying?
tax me.
Yeah,
That's
but
what I was going to.
But what are your alternatives, right? You want to go to Canada or UK?
So I'm saying, don't you think that will make people not want to, like, you know what, let me just stick to this 1 million instead of trying to get more and tax?
I think people will become more entrepreneurial. I think people will become more entrepreneurial. Yes. So, for example, like for me now, let me tell you the honest thing I did when I saw this tax thing coming. And please, Uncle Zach, please don't call for me. The first thing I did was that I resigned from my job. I had a job. I was the CEO of my company. I resigned, right? And I asked my job to pay my company as a consultant. Do you understand?
That is one of the smartest moves I've seen in recent times.
And on the back of that, you see what I mean? I'm actually going to be income free. Now, I pay myself a salary, but I'm managing my tax band because I'm actually deducting most of my costs from my business as a business expense. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So a lot of people are going to do things like that.
That's really smart. That is really, really, really smart, I must say. So we are rounding up now.
We have budgets. We have things like Sorry. Continue. We're rounding up.
No, that's fine. Rounding up now. One last word from you before we bring in Moji. Time is well spent. Moji's has probably just 5 minutes to speak. Can you give us like a sentence or a word to describe what next year will look like?
Look, I always say this that every 30 years, you usually have an economic need where there is a mismatch between reality and perception of the Nigerian economy. When you study economic history properly, if you look at post-Civil War, 1970s, those were times of incredible prosperity, but around everybody, people were feeling war. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm sure people were feeling war, the burden of war, but those were times of incredible prosperity, right? Between 1970 and 1975. Then again, it happened 30 years later when SAP happened, right? SAP with Babangida, and people felt a lot of pain, like we are feeling now. But all the banks that you see today were born in that moment. You see what I mean? The perception versus the reality of the Nigerian economy had a big gap. You understand what I'm saying? I feel strongly that we are in such a time, especially because of this tax bill, because we are going to enter a period of very, very interesting growth. God willing, security situation is managed. And the reality is that anybody who invests in the Nigerian economy and optimizes for cash flow as opposed to extraction is going to be very wealthy, extremely wealthy. If you double down on the Nigerian economy and optimize for cash flow, you're actually going to find yourself in a very interesting place very quickly. That's all I'll say. So just take advantage of this gap in perception between the perception of the Nigerian economy and the reality of the Nigerian economy. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ian. We appreciate your time. This has been so loaded. I feel like we are definitely going to have a part 2 of this. There's so much to talk about in the economy as a whole, the tax, the FX, the the investment side of things. There's so much to unpack, and in just 30 minutes, we've learned so much from you, and we believe that we are definitely coming back for this. So thank you so much, Ian. We appreciate your time. So we're going to have a short media break. Then we'll bring Mojid up. Mojid is another finance superstar that we all want to hear talk. So let's stay on the call while we bring Mojid on. Thank you so much, Ian. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Word on the street is you don't actually know what your Juicyway USD account can do. Let me break it down, because if you're still paying fees just to fund your USD account, you're leaving money on the table. The first thing you need to know, we charge 0 fees on deposits. Everybody says 0, 0. Yes, you heard that right. Whether you're moving money from your Naira wallet, another currency wallet, stable coins, or even crypto, you'll never ever pay a kobo in charges to fund your USD account. And that is just the start. Your account is in your name, so that when money lands, it comes straight to you. Also, you can send and receive money globally using ACH and FedWire transfers. If you're a business, Swift too. Get this, there is no conversion drama and no hidden costs. Rather, you have seamless access to one of the world's strongest currencies. So, what are you waiting for? Download the Juicyway app, open your USD account today, and step onto the juicy side of life where your money moves fee-free and stress-free.
All right. So we have on the call with us Mojid. As I said before, Mojid is one of the few, I can say, data-driven finance leader we have in Nigeria. He's a superstar. Mojid has worked in several fintechs, big fintechs in Nigeria. I mean, to mention a few, I would say InterSwitch, and currently leading finance in Juicyway. Mojid, thank you for having us, and thank you for coming on the call. We appreciate you. We want you to give an overview on what you think, how you think the general public, me, you,
Hello, can you hear me?
Moji, can you hear us?
Okay, so I couldn't hear you for a bit there, but if I get the question
Yes. So I was
correctly, you just
asking
want to
you
get
to do an
my
overview on
yeah. I
what
think I
how
got the
you
question. You
think
want to
the
get
tax
my
reform will affect
overview
Nigerians.
of what the implications of the tax reforms would have on Nigerians, individuals, businesses, etc. Um, I think just a little bit of backdrop. I think so. Nigeria has always been a country that always had an issue with the tax bracket, in the sense that a lot of transactions they happen, financial transactions that are not reported. A lot of sole proprietors are not taxed. So there's always been an issue with the tax bracket, right? So there's this joke where, when working in finance, it looks as though you that are compliant and paying some taxes, the tax officials would double down on you to get more taxes from you. Meanwhile, the other person that doesn't pay anything, right, just goes, is not taxed and all of that. So I think one of the very smart things that the current tax reform has done is appointing banks as tax agents. I'm sort of making that structure more formalized, such that every single inflow now that you get into your bank statement, almost qualifies for some form of tax if they're not properly described. And I think it just basically means for every single transaction that you're doing using your bank account, right? The descriptions, the narrations have to be clear so that from a tax standpoint, you're not sort of exposed. Um, Another thing I would say is I think from an investment standpoint, although we want to increase the revenues that comes from tax, um, I would say we also need to be very careful because if you see what happened in the Nigerian stock market, I think last week or last 2 weeks, the market lost trillions of naira in value, right? Because there was this fear around, I think, taxing capital gains, which um, which I would say was also one that sort of spooked me a bit, right? Because you also don't want to introduce taxes that discourages investment in the economy, right? Then there's that age-old saying in tax: if you are taxing uh, unrealized gains, right? What then happens to unrealized losses? Because there are two sides to the coin. So that's basically, I would say that my initial take on the tax reforms and at least what I've been exposed to it, it's good, right? I think Ian has said a lot. For the low income earners, I think it just sort of refreshes, the whole tax band and just makes it more realistic based on current realities, right? I think the old bands were outdated, you know, the new bands are now more in tune with current realities, right? Um, for for a number of Nigerians, right? Because those are guys that earn plus or minus, but I would say plus not of maybe say 50 to 80% of the minimum wage, right? Your taxes should reduce significantly. As Ian has said, for businesses that make under 150 million naira, registered as a limited liability company, right? You should you should see the benefit of the new tax reforms, right? While for higher income earners, you pay more taxes, but trust me, whatever it is you are paying is nowhere near what is paid in other developed countries, right? Which is still a positive for us. and let's see how it plays out, right? Let's see how it plays out. I think I, for one, I'm excited to see the impact this would actually have on from a behavioral standpoint for Nigerians. Because trust me, um, the sooner we pivot into a country where majority of our revenues is coming from taxes, I believe the more engaged Nigerians will be in terms of how these monies are being spent, etc. And that should help us go into a better economy as a whole.
Thank you, Majid. Thank you so much for that intro. Time is well spent. So we're going to be rounding up now, but I have just two questions for you as we round up this
Sorry, I can't hear
conversation.
you. I don't know if it's from my end.
Can you hear me now?
Let me just.
So I have a question for you, Majid.
I think I have to switch devices.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you from. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. My question for you will be: do you think people are overreacting or underreacting because of the news from the tax reform? Do you think businesses are overreacting or underreacting?
Okay. I would say the reforms are quite the reforms are substantial, right? And I would say the reaction from the market is as expected, right? Where you have major changes happening to your fiscal policy in the country, it has tremendous implications on capital markets. I think I said how people are now planning their cash flows, um, the amount of investment that need to go into compliance, making sure your reporting structure can, provide sufficient information to enable you, comply with the new reporting requirements for the tax mandate. I would say I think the reactions have just been, more accurate or okay. I don't think it's overstated or anything of that sort. Um, Obviously, the way these things happen is when these things are implemented, it will take there will be that initial shock. And after a period of maybe say 3 to 6 months, everybody sort of normalizes into the new regime, and obviously there might be one or two modifications or adjustments that would have to happen, right? As things play out. So I'll say the reactions have been commensurate with the severity of the changes happening.
All right. Thank you very much, Majid. I think that will be all from me. Thank you for taking your time to attend this webinar. We will be proceeding to questions. Majid, please don't go off. We will just this is time to get questions from the team. Just hang in there. We would let you know if you have questions from the team, from the audience, stakeholders, and everyone joining from several platforms. Please do drop your questions in the comments. We will definitely do take them, and before we wrap up this conversation today. If you have joined us from the beginning till now, we want to say thank you for your time, and I hope and believe that you've actually gained a whole lot. I have done. I have gained so much from these conversations, and I believe that you have as well. Please remember, this is powered by GCWay. GCWay is a global payment platform for both business and individual, and where businesses make payment, FX conversion, and cross-border payments across the globe. You can download the app on both App Store and Play Store. Just dial or just type GCWay and download and register. So back to conversations. Let's see if we have any questions from the chat. Please, as I said, drop your questions in the comments. We will do well to review as well. So the first one is yes, David. David, you're correct. Yeah, the exemption for businesses that do an annual turnover of less than 100 million. Absolutely correct. Do we have another question? I think that is all we have here. If you have other questions, please drop. All right. So Florence, I think the floor is yours to wrap up this conversation. It would be nice to hear your voice and as we wrap up for today. Hi, Florence, are you
Okay.
there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Thank
So as I wrap
you.
up today, I want to thank everyone that has listened to us today once again. A special thank you to Ian for those power nuggets that he has dropped. I also want to thank Majid for stepping in for Idris today and for bringing clarity to some of the questions I asked. Thank you for the GCWay's team for setting it up. It is, I mean, it's just a short notice, and the team was able to pull this up and get hundreds of people watching across several platforms. I really want to appreciate everyone that made this possible. I hope that we are living here with a very clear insight on how the tax affect you and I as laymen and business owners and investors today, and we have taken note on next steps on how to be very practical on ensuring that we actually are on the good side of the law when it comes to tax payment, and we are very proactive on what this means and how it affects us as well. um, Thank you, everyone. My name is Ifani. I'm head of sales at GCWay once again, and I want to appreciate everyone. We'll see you at the next edition. It's going to be a monthly edition, monthly webinar. We'll see you at the December edition, and it's going to be even more fantastic. So stick around, watch out for our post or maybe mail as well, and we would definitely um, share more information about that as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye.